Welcome to Halftime Football, where in the 5th of an 8-part series, I'll be previewing Group E of the World Cup. So in Group E, we have two big hitters and two hit-and-miss sides, as Germany, Japan, Spain and Costa Rica will all be competing with one another. We'll start off by taking a look at 2014 champions Germany, who come into Qatar not really knowing what to expect. The Germans had a fairly straightforward qualifying run as they won 9 out of 10, with their only blip being a 2-1 defeat at home to Macedonia. However, Hansi Flick's side didn't really impress in recent Nations League fixtures, winning just 1 game out of 6, which came against Hungary, and they managed to draw a staggering 4 out of 6 games. Not only that, but last night they also looked decidedly average as they barely scraped past Oman 1-0, and their Euro 2020 campaign was also one to forget as they ended up being eliminated by England. Because of this, many are saying that the old guard of Germany appear very over the hill, but the likes of Manuel Neuer and Thomas Muller will still be looking to prove they have it in them in Qatar. Meanwhile, in midfield, Toni Kroos's international retirement has paved the way for Jamal Musiala and Leon Goretzka to take charge, while Kai Havertz will look to be building on his decent form for his national side. There is, however, no place for Florian Wirtz, Marco Reus and Timo Werner, who will all be missing out due to injury, while Mats Hummels was snubbed following a poor showing at Euro 2020 and in the previous World Cup. In that campaign, the Germans succumbed to the Champions Curse and were shockingly put out in the group stages after defeats to Mexico and South Korea, and to be honest, it would be quite impressive if they managed to do worse this time around. Germany's recent inconsistency makes them a relatively unpredictable outfit coming into this year's World Cup, though their star talent will still be looking to bring back the immaculate form of 2014. Moving on now to Asian outfit Japan, and the Samurai Blues are coming into this World Cup on red hot form. They flew high in the East Asian Cup this summer, particularly with a 3-0 win over South Korea as they topped the table, and a 2-0 friendly win against the United States has put them on a pedestal. As for the actual World Cup qualifiers, the Japanese were absolutely flawless in 2022, sweeping aside the likes of Saudi Arabia and Australia with ease, while an emphatic 4-1 win against Ghana in the Kirin Cup shows them why hopes should be high. Japan are also playing a friendly against Canada a couple hours after I'm recording this, and if they win that, they'll seriously be in a good mental position for this World Cup. Some of those looking to spearhead the Japanese out of a tough group include the Bundesliga maestros Wataru Endo and Daishi Kamada, while exciting attackers Takafusa Kubo and Kaoru Mitoma will look to excite the masses. Manager Hajime Moriyasu has elected to go very bold with his selections and has left out a lot of experience, as the likes of Genki Haraguchi, Yoshinori Muto and Yuya Osaka are all missing out, while Kyogo Furuhashi will be devastated at not making the cut despite excellent performances for Celtic. All in all though, Moriyasu appears to be sticking to the formula that's brought Japan such excellent form as of late. He'll be wanting to improve on the Japanese display in 2018 while he was an assistant coach, as they crashed out to Belgium in the round of 16 in absolutely tragic style. Japanese fans have reason to be excited ahead of Qatar, as this fresh team with fresh ideas aim to prove that they belong with the big boys. Now, as for 2010 champions Spain, they'll be looking to build on some very solid form they've had as of late, as they look quite revitalised under Luis Enrique. While one defeat in their qualifiers against an average Swedish team in a relatively easy group doesn't make them appear all that, they've qualified for the Nations League finals, which is set to take place next year after finishing runners-up in 2021, which came just a few months after an unfortunate defeat on penalties to Italy in the semi-finals of the Euros. A relatively shady defeat here and there tarnishes the Spanish slightly, but on paper they're definitely one of the favourites for the tournament. Veteran fullbacks Dani Carvajal and Jordi Alba are likely to start, while young Barcelona trio Ansu Fati, Pablo Gavi and Pedri Gonzalez will be looking to dazzle spectators despite their inexperience. Marcos Llorente and Rodri will provide a solid base in midfield, though all the talk is about the omission of Liverpool man Thiago, who clearly doesn't see eye to eye with Luis Enrique. Other notable absentees include David De Gea and Sergio Ramos, though this new wave Spanish side appear to have ample replacements. This fresh generation of Spaniards will be aiming to banish the demons of a shocking showing in Russia as they bowed out to the hosts on penalties in what was meant to be a redemption campaign after being even worse in 2014. Nevertheless, the young blood on display in Qatar are likely to put on one hell of a show as they look to garner the spirit that carried them to the title 12 years ago. Finally, in Group E we have Costa Rica, who are still desperately trying to recapture that form from 2014, and realistically to get out of this group they're gonna need it. Los Ticos had a shocking start to qualification which seriously jeopardized their hopes of being in Qatar, as they initially went 4 games without a win, but massive victories against Canada, USA and a draw against Mexico saw them sneak into a playoff place. There, they narrowly beat New Zealand Zealand to book their ticket and have since improved in a few friendly games. All in all, a shaky beginning has miraculously transformed into mass excitement among Costa Rican fans ahead of the World Cup. Of course, guarding between the sticks, Costa Rica have legendary keeper Keylor Navas, who despite a lack of game time this season will be raring to go. Meanwhile, in the midfield, Celso Borges and Brian Ruiz will look to be rolling back the years in order to get the ball forward to the likes of Joel Campbell, who may terrify defences if he plays anything like he did in 2014. Costa Rica's squad is mostly relatively experienced, but it's certainly the last tournament that the whole of this mini golden generation will be together, so they have to make the most of it. A good start for them would be a better showing than 2018, where they were out of the groups within 2 games and picked up just a measly point, though they'll have to work really hard to beat that this time around. Los Ticos realistically appear to be in a lot of trouble despite their recent resurgence, and the fans will really have to be their 12th man if they're to stand any chance of getting out of Group E. Anyway, as for my predictions for Group E, and I seriously think there's a shock on the cards here. I'm going to have Costa Rica finishing rock bottom on 0 points while getting battered in the process, while Spain will top the group on 7 after beating Germany and Costa Rica while drawing with Japan. Now as for the actual shock element, I have Japan going through the group unbeaten as they hold both the top dogs to a draw, and Germany will go out on just 4 points despite a big win against Costa Rica. I just can't see the Germans performing well in this tournament under any circumstance, and Japan's incredible form right now is a major factor in my decision. Anyway, that's it for my preview and prediction of Group E of the 2022 World Cup. Let me know what you thought of it down below. As always, if you did enjoy, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for Group F.